Good day, everyone. Today, I'm going to tackle about contemporary human rights issues in the Philippines. These are the common issues of contemporary human rights issues in the Philippines that still remain a problem that the Group 3 will going to discuss. First, we're going to tackle about inequality and social rights. So what is social inequality? Social inequality is characterized by existence of unequal opportunities and rewards for different social positions or statuses within a group of society. It remains structured and recurrent patterns of unequal distributions of goods, wealth, opportunities, rewards, and punishments. The phenomenon of unequal or unjust distributions of resources and opportunities among members of given society. Social inequality occurs when resources is given distributed unevenly, typically through norms of allocations that engender specific patterns along lines of socially defined categories of persons. It possesses and creates a gender gap between individuals that limits the accessibility that women have within society. The differentiation preference of access to social goods in society is brought about power, religion, kinship, prestige, race, ethnicity, gender, age, sexual orientation, and class. Social inequality usually implies the lack of equality of outcome, but may alternatively be conceptualized in terms of lack of inequality in access to opportunity. This accompanies the way that inequality is presented throughout social economics and the skilled rights within this basis. The social rights include the labor market, the source of income, healthcare, freedom of speech, education, political representation, and participation. The major examples of social inequality include income gap, gender inequality, healthcare, and social class. Manila, Philippines' high economic growth and job expansion have resulted in significant poverty reduction in the Philippines. Yet an elite few continue to hold a bulk of national wealth, findings of a World Bank report showed. The World Bank report found that the Philippines' middle class population has expanded to nearly 12 million people, while the economically secure has risen to 44 million. This was driven by high growth rates and job opportunities outside agriculture, resulting in poverty falling by two-thirds from 49.2% in 1985 to 16.7% in 2018. However, the same study found that the top 1% earners together captured 17% of national income, with only 14% being shared by the bottom 50%. The Philippines Gini coefficient, which measures economic equality within a nation, subbed up 42.3% in 2018, one of the highest in East Asia. The World Bank said that inequality was reduced by expansion of secondary education, better paying jobs, access to basic services, and government social assistance programs. However, inequality remained a challenge due to unequal opportunities, slow access to tertiary education among poor households, inequality in returns to college education, and the heavier burden of childcare in women. The pandemic also exacerbated inequality, as the poorest who suffered the most from COVID-19 have yet to fully recover their incomes. The report also highlighted that inequality starts even before birth, starting with maternal nutrition and health during pregnancy.
In the Philippines, during the pandemic, there are growing inequalities while everyone's way of life has undoubtedly shifted this past year. The pandemic didn't affect everyone the same way. It only exposed existing inequalities but accelerated them. People are turning to the internet for help, whether the existing internet users with fresh financial woes and newcomers with more basic needs. Customers are searching for ways to overcome the challenges they face. Dubbed the inequality virus, the pandemic has exposed many societal factors along the lines of wealth, race, and gender. While many these inequalities existed before COVID-19, the pandemic has played a role exacerbating them, and the most vulnerable in society have been disproportionately hit. Lower income households experience a higher concentration of job losses, while their children miss twice as many days in the school year compared with those from high school income families. In the Philippines, women to suffered increased violence with increased calls to domestic violence, helpless, and increased searches related to the violence against women and children. To overcome these inequalities, people are searching for online for solutions to help themselves and their communities. Their searches range from unemployment benefits and buy now, pay later, financing options to topics in discrimination of women's rights, affecting their growing interest in social issues. Unfortunately, not everyone has equal access to support system they need. The world's growing reliance on technology means it's crucial to equip the less privileged with access to digital solutions. Factors like unstable internet access, technical illiteracy, and language barriers can prevent people from joining the rest of the world online and exacerbate inequality they already experience. In Article 1, all human beings are born free and equal. You are worth the same and have the same rights as anyone else. You are born with the ability to think and to know right from wrong and should act toward others in the spirit of friendliness.
Healthy and sustainable environments. It is one of the contemporary human rights issue that we face in the Philippines today. The right to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. For the first time in its history, the United Nations has recognized that everyone, everywhere has the right to live in a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. Resolutions from the Human Rights Council in 2021 and General Assembly in 2022. These fundamental human rights to the library of international recognized rights. As humanity confronts an unprecedented planetary crisis, it is our genuine hope that the right to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment will catalyze for systematic and transformative changes to produce a just and sustainable future in harmony with nature. Millions of Filipinos rely on agriculture, forestry, and fisheries for their livelihoods, but frequent natural disasters, ineffective management, and lapses in environmental law enforcement threaten these critical natural resources. Water and air pollution levels exceed generally accepted health standards, and greenhouse gases emissions are increasing from rapid urbanizations, land conversions, mismanaged plastic waste, and increased demands on the transport and power sectors. These drivers, coupled with the country's location in the Pacific, make the Philippines consistently ranked as one of the world's most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change and natural disasters. These are some of the Philippine government has done to address this issue. Addressing the climate change demand prompt concerted action. CCC Week 2023 kicks off with a commitment to net zero carbon dioxide. DENR launches search for most improved estero in Metro Manila. Nature-based solutions are key to addressing the climate change gap by 2030. CCC lauds approval of 5 projects for local climate change adaptation. CCC and USTCL partnership to drive climate innovation and sustainability. Sipalai's Women-Led Beach Cleanup makes global green stories less. CPECC sees PH massive potential in renewable energy. LGUs are now more proactive in protecting bodies of water. CCC calls for a ban on plastic wool campaign materials. Environmental group calls for a greater focus on renewable energy. 14 truckloads of trash gathered in Princessa's Peking Belt. PH committed to whole of world climate action under PBBM. 1 million trees planted in Sorsogon under the Kalikasan program.
10 simple things as individual can do to help protect the earth. Number 1, reduce, reuse, and recycle. Cut down on what you throw away. Follow the 3R to conserve natural resources and landfill space. Number 2, volunteer. Volunteer for cleanup in your community. You can get involved in protecting your wastershed too. Number 3, educate. When you further your education, you can help others understand the importance and value of our natural resources. Number 4, conserve water. The less water you use, the less runoff and wastewater that eventually even up in ocean. Number 4, choose sustainable. Learn how to make smart and safe food choices. Number 5, shop wisely. Buy less plastic and bring a reasonable shopping bag. Number 6, use lasting light bulbs. Energy efficient light bulbs reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Also flip the light switch off when you leave the room. Number 7, plant a trees provide food and oxygen. They help save energy, clean the air, and help combat climate change. Number 8. Don't send chemicals into our waterways. Choose non-toxic chemicals in the home and office. And last, bike more and drive less.
Definition of child exploitation. Child exploitation is when someone uses a child for financial gain, sexual gratification, labor, or personal advantage. One example of child exploitation is the child labor. The term child labor is often defined as work that deprives children of their childhood, their potential, and their dignity, and that is harmful to physical and mental development. Child sexual exploitation involves situations, contexts, or relationships in which person under 18 is given something, such as food, accommodation, drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, fiction, gifts, or money in return for performing sexual activities or having sexual activities performed them. A new report estimates that at least 2 million children in the Philippines were subjected to online sexual abuse and exploitation in the past year alone. 96% of 12 to 17 years olds in the Philippines are online. They all face the risk of online sexual abuse and exploitation. That groundbreaking disrupting harm in the Philippines, research found that 20% of internet using children aged 12 to 17 children had experienced online sexual exploitation and abuse in the last year alone. If scaled to the population, the report estimates that as many as 2 million child could be experiencing grave instances of online sexual exploitation and abuse in the Philippines. Experiences reported by children included grooming, being offered gifts or money in exchange for sexual acts, and being threatened or blackmailed to engage in sexual acts.
Under RA 7610, also known as Anti-Child Abuse Law, children are persons below 18 years of age or those unable to fully take care of themselves or protect themselves from abuse, neglect, cruelty, exploitation, or discrimination because of their age or mental disability or condition. It must be noted that the law covers not only a situation in which a child is abused for profit, but also one in which a child, through coercion or intimidation, engages in lascivious conduct. Hence, the foregoing provision penalizes not only child prostitution, the essence of which is profit, but also other form of sexual abuse of children. This is clear from deliberation of the Senate. Above disquisition, the accused is certainly guilty of sexual abuse committed on his stepdaughter using his moral ascendancy to intimidate the victim to engage in sexual intercourse with him.
Corruption. The Philippines suffers from widespread corruption which developed during the Spanish colonial period. According to John's Integrity Philippines Corruption Reported, updated May 2020, the Philippines suffers from many incidents of corruption and crime in many aspects of civic life and in various sectors. Such corruption risks are rampant throughout the state's judicial system, police service, public services, land administration, and natural resources. What is corruption? Corruption is a form of dishonesty or a criminal offenses that is undertaken by a person or an organization that is entrusted in a position of authority to acquire illicit benefits or abuse power for one's great gain. The Philippines is perceived to be one of the most corrupt countries in the world. Of 180 countries, the Philippines rank 116 in terms of being the least corrupt. This means that our country is almost in the top one-third of the most corrupt countries. Based on the Corruption Perceptions Index, CPI, published by Transparency International, Examples of corruption in the Philippines include graft, bribery, favoritism, nepotism, impunity, embezzlement, extortion, racketeering, fraud, tax evasion, lack of transparency, lack of sufficient enforcement of laws and government policies, and consistent lack of support for human rights.
Corruption in the police service. The police system of the Philippines poses a higher risk of corruption, with the Philippines National Police (PNP) considered to be one of the most corrupt institutions in the country. There are several reports of national police officers and members of the military engaging in criminal activities such as extortion, corruption, and involvement in local rackets. Private business also report that they cannot solely rely on the support of the police and help of them choose to pay for private security. Corruption in the Philippines judicial system is also a major problem. Bribery and irregular payments in return for favorable judicial decisions are quite common. Although judicial officials are independent by law, rich and powerful groups and individuals will control and influence over the judicial system and influence the outcomes of civil and criminal proceedings. Financial investment disputes often take an unnecessarily long period due to staffing shortage, lack of resources, and corruption in the court.
Is violent extremism. Violent extremism is a belief and action of people who support or use violence to achieve ideological, religion, or political goals. This includes terrorism and other forms of politically motivated and commonly violence. Terrorism is a major social issue in the Philippines, linked to the moral conflict and the communism rebellion. The country ranks in 18th place on the Global Terrorism Index. 2023 list of countries most attacked or often carried out by several jihadists and militant groups with a different ideological and extortion, mass murder, assassination, and other types of attack. Terrorism groups like Abu Sayyaf and the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters and Al-Qaeda Islamiyah mostly operate in the southern Philippines. The New People's Army maintains a wider range of operations across the country and launches attack, albeit on a lesser intensity than other rebels movement. Following the September 11 attacks, the Philippines became a forefront of the American-led war on terror during George Bush's presidency. The U.S. sent foreign aid and American troops in Mindanao to assist in counterinsurgency operations as a part of Operation Enduring Freedom in the Philippines. The siege of Marawing ended in the deaths of several terrorist leaders and the reducting of the Islamic State's presence in the Philippines terrorism.